So hi all, I just want to welcome you to this video, and I want to welcome all new viewers of my channel as well. Now in today's video we're going to be looking at healthcare in the UK for foreigners. And before I actually start this video, I just want to clear the air. I don't want to offend anyone by the title of this video through the use of the word foreigner, because some people get offended by the word foreigner. All right. So foreigner, in accordance to the Cambridge Dictionary, means a person who comes from another country, or a person who is coming from another country other than one's own. Now, I personally prefer the word newcomer. I prefer to use the word newcomer rather than using the word foreigner. So throughout this video, I'm going to be referring to you as a newcomer or as a newbie. And that is what my whole channel is dedicated to. It's dedicated to helping people navigate into and through the UK as a newbie. All right. So just want to clear the air there. Now, welcome to Akosia UK, helping you to navigate in the UK as a newbie. I hope you enjoy this channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. I'm going to get started with this video. So I don't know if you all recognize this particular name. It's called the NHS. Now, the NHS, also known as the National Healthcare Service, is commonly in the news, okay, because every form of healthcare in the UK is kind of tied to the NHS. The UK does have private healthcare, but majority of the healthcare in the UK is the NHS. All right. Now, one thing I want you to know before I actually talk to you about healthcare in the UK for foreigners, what I want you to really know is that the NHS, or the National Healthcare Service, is not automatically free for people who are moving to the UK for the very first time, or people who have come to the UK repetitively on a visa. It's not automatically free, all right, for such newcomers. It's also not free for people who are staying in the UK with a visa, with any kind of visa. The NHS, or the National Healthcare Service, is only free when you become a permanent resident in the UK or in the United Kingdom, and that is the only time that you will be eligible to free healthcare through the NHS. But as long as you're on a visa, if you're coming to the UK on a visa, or you're staying in the UK through a visa, one thing I want you to know is that you're gonna have to pay. All right. And in this video, I'm gonna be addressing that. Okay, so I'm going to be addressing all questions that you may have concerning accessing healthcare in the UK, and also about the healthcare surcharge. Now, you might not know what the healthcare surcharge means, and I don't want you to worry. I'm going to address all of that in this video. So many of you may be wondering, what do you have to do to receive healthcare in the UK when you are a newcomer in the UK or to the UK? You're a newcomer in the UK. What do you actually have to do to receive healthcare in the UK? Now, to receive healthcare in the UK when you are new, you have to apply for something known as the healthcare surcharge. Okay. And when you apply for the healthcare surcharge and you pay for the healthcare surcharge, that will make you eligible, and that will make you entitled to free NHS treatment. Okay. Now, you have to apply for the healthcare surcharge when you apply for your UK visa. All right. So you might be wondering, what is the healthcare surcharge? Now, the healthcare surcharge is also known as the Immigration Health Surcharge, also known as the IHS. So sometimes you may hear people refer to the healthcare surcharge as healthcare surcharge or as IHS. It's exactly the same thing. All right. So the IHS stands for Immigration Health Surcharge, and it is this immigration health surcharge, or this healthcare surcharge, it is this that gives someone who is on any visa in the UK access to healthcare in the UK. The healthcare surcharge was introduced in the UK system in 2015. And the reason why the government introduced it is because they really wanted to combat health tourism. All right. And what health tourism it is when somebody or when a person travels to another country specifically for medical care. All right. So let me just give you an example. Maybe you have a leader in Africa, or you have somebody who's very wealthy in Africa. What they will do is that they will get a visa, and they'll get a visa to the UK, and then they will come and use the UK's healthcare service, or NHS. Okay, so before 2015, people could just come into the UK from any country on a visa and use the UK's healthcare service for free of charge. All right, many foreigners, many newcomers were leaving their countries to go to the UK for healthcare for free. And if you look at it from an outside perspective, if you look at it from a government's perspective, it's not really fair, because it's as if people are coming into the UK to just take something for free that does not automatically belong to them, and then they go back to their countries. Okay, so what the UK government wanted to do is he wanted them to start paying for their healthcare. All right, so that's that. So this healthcare surcharge basically overcomes or eradicates that misuse of healthcare from people who only come to the UK just to use their healthcare services. Now they have to pay for it. It is no longer free as it was in before 2015. Now, the healthcare surcharge is applied for when you apply for your visa. And what that means is, it means that if you do not apply for the healthcare surcharge, your visa may not be granted onto you, because it's basically a part of the application process. So when you're applying for your UK visa, there's going to be a section for the healthcare surcharge section, and you're going to have to pay for that to completely complete your visa application. And I'll go into a bit more detail with that as we go on throughout this video. Now, when it comes to the healthcare surcharge, there are some exceptions in which, and what I mean by exceptions, I mean certain people will not actually have to pay for this healthcare surcharge when they are actually applying for their visa. And also, the healthcare surcharge is also very, very dependent on the type of visa that you are applying for. So some people may not pay for this healthcare surcharge because of the specific visa they're applying for. And I will go through all of this as we go throughout this video. All right, so who actually needs to apply for the healthcare surcharge? So you have to apply for the healthcare surcharge when you are a national of a country outside the European Economic Area, also known as the EEA. All right, so what this means is that any country outside of Europe, you're going to have to apply for the healthcare surcharge when you are applying for a visa to come into the UK. You also have to apply for the healthcare surcharge when you are actually applying for a visa into the UK to work, study, or to join or visit your family in the UK for a period of more than 6 months. And I want you to remember that it has to be for a period of more than 6 months. That is the only time when you're going to have to really apply for the healthcare surcharge. So any visa that involves you staying, working, or joining your family in the UK for more than 6 months, you're going to have to apply for the healthcare surcharge, and it's going to be a part of your visa application automatically. And also, you also have to apply for the healthcare surcharge if you have paid for your visa on or after the 6th of April 2015. Okay, so now we are in 2022. So if you have paid for your visa, you're going to have to apply for the healthcare surcharge. That's going to be a part of your application anyway. All right, so that is who needs to pay. Now, another question that somebody may also have, or you may be having, is how do you actually apply for this healthcare surcharge? Because yes, of course, your UK is mentioning about healthcare surcharge, but how do you actually apply for it? So you apply for your healthcare surcharge when you're actually applying for your visa, your UK visa. All right. So there are actually 3 ways that you can actually apply for this healthcare surcharge. So the first is when you're actually doing your visa application online. So when you're doing your visa application online, there'll be a section of the application form within your visa where you will actually be asked to pay for the healthcare surcharge, and it will tell you how much you have to pay and how much you need to pay to actually complete your visa application. All right. Some of you may also decide to expedite or to basically speed up your application process so they can get it quicker. And with these types of application, more than often, what they ask you to do, they ask you to book an appointment with them to actually see them. You have to go to the Home Office to actually see them. And then in this appointment, when you have your appointment with them, in this appointment, they will also ask you to pay for the healthcare surcharge that is what you have to do in relation to the visa you have applied for and all the other requirements that I gave in terms of the person who actually needs to apply for this healthcare surcharge. Secondly, as well, if you apply for your visa through the completion of a paper application form, okay, you will also be required to pay for the healthcare surcharge online first before you actually send or post off your visa application form. So the healthcare surcharge either has to be done within the application of your visa when you're doing it online, or it has to be done before you actually post off your visa application paper form if you do it through paper, okay, if you do it through a written application. And aside from that as well, if you are applying for your visa using a paper application form as well, when you do that, you're also gonna have to write down your IHS reference number. So with the healthcare surcharge, when you actually finish applying for that, and then when you finish actually applying for that and paying for that, that is when you can send off your paper. If you're applying through paper version of your visa, that is when you can actually apply for your visa. So you have to do your healthcare surcharge payment first before you can actually send off your paper visa application. And on that paper visa application form, you have to write down your healthcare surcharge or your immigration health surcharge reference number, okay, on your paper visa application form. And the reason why you have to do this is because this will enable the person who receives your visa application form to acknowledge your payment and to recognize that it is indeed you who paid. All right. So that is all. And also, yes, that is covered. All right. So that answers that question, how you actually apply for the healthcare surcharge. Okay, the next question you might have is how much does the healthcare surcharge cost? Now, the cost of the healthcare surcharge is actually dependent on how long you stay in the UK for. Every visa granted to somebody is different. So, for example, if somebody is coming to the UK for study, they're going to be on a student visa, and their student visa is going to be for the duration of their study. So maybe they might come to the UK to do a full-time 3 years undergraduate degree. Okay, so with someone like that, their healthcare surcharge may be a little bit higher because they're going to be in the UK for longer. All right, so it's primarily dependent on how long you stay in the UK. So let me give you an example. If you stay in the UK for 2 years on a graduate visa, and a graduate visa is normally 2 years, when it comes to you actually paying this healthcare surcharge cost, you have to actually pay for the entirety of that visa. So if the graduate visa is normally 2 years, that's the length of time you have. What that means is you're going to have to pay 2 years of the healthcare surcharge cost to cover the duration of that whole visa. All right. So at current, the healthcare surcharge cost per year is £624. Okay. And that's in 2022. It may increase as the years go by, but in 2022, it is approximately £624 per year. So every year of the visa, you're going to have to pay 624. Okay. Now, this 624 per year is actually added to your visa application fee if you are applying online for a visa. Now, this fee, you must pay it for the entirety of your stay. I just want to emphasize that as well. So if you're on a graduate visa, graduate visas for 2 years, okay, and you know that the healthcare surcharge cost is £624 per year, okay, you should know that if you are on a graduate visa, that is 2 years, that means it's 624 times 2, which will equal £1,248, and that will be an additional cost on the visa application. Okay, so your visa application will also have a fee, and also this healthcare surcharge will be an additional fee for you, and this will just ensure that all your healthcare is taken care of when you are in the UK. So that's why it's a very, very important aspect of the visa application process, and that is why the UK government will not actually allow you to receive a visa without you actually paying this healthcare surcharge. All right, so I hope that's clear. All right, so one thing I also want you to know is that if you are applying for any visa where you have to stay in the UK more than 6 months, okay, so you might not even be staying for the whole year. You might just be staying maybe 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. That's still less than 1 year. You'll still be required to pay for the full cost of the healthcare surcharge. Okay, so if you're applying for more than 6 months, it might be 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, you still have to pay the £624, even though you're not staying for the whole year. Okay, and you have to cover that cost, okay, whether you are applying for your visa in the UK or outside of the UK. And whether you are staying just for 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, even if you're staying under the 12-month period, as long as you're staying for more than 6 months, you're going to have to still pay the full cost of the healthcare surcharge. So that's what you need to be aware of as well. All right. Now, one thing I also want you to know is that there are exceptions to the cost, to the healthcare surcharge cost for some visas as well. So what this means is it means that not all visas, or not all UK visas demand a £624 fee for the healthcare surcharge, okay? And I'm going to tell you what the exceptions are. So with the student visa, so if you're applying for a student visa, if you're applying for a youth mobility visa, and if you are an applicant that is under 18 and you're applying for any kind of visa, your health surcharge cost fee is going to be reduced from £624 per year to £470 per year. Okay, so there is a discount for people who are on these particular visas. All right, and that's just government regulation. Another thing I want you to be aware of when it comes to the exceptions to cost is that you do not need to actually pay the healthcare surcharge if you're applying from outside the UK for a UK visa that will last less than 6 months. Okay, so there are some visas that actually last less than 6 months, and that is the standard visitor visa and the fiancé visa. Now, I will cover a video very soon about how to actually move from Africa to the UK for family, and that is where I will cover the fiancé visa, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a summary on both of these visa types. So when it comes to the standard visitor visa, this is a visa that is granted for you to remain in the UK as a visitor for a maximum period of 6 months. Okay, now with this standard visitor visa, you can extend this visa to 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years if you visit the UK regularly. However, even if you extend the visa to 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, you can only stay in the UK for a 6-month period at a time. So what this means is, it means, for example, if you extend the visa to 2 years, it means that you will have to come to the UK 4 times, okay, because that will probably be in a 2-year period, but you're going to have to come 4 times for a maximum of 6 months only, then you're gonna have to return. Then you can come back again for another 6 months. That is how the extension of the standard visitor visa works. But as you can see, the standard visitor visa is only for a duration of 6 months. And what this means is that it has just hit the cutoff point for an individual to actually pay the healthcare surcharge. And what that means is that the person will not pay because they have just hit the 6 month period. Okay, what that means is it means that because the standard visitor visa is only for a maximum of 6 months, and the healthcare surcharge you only have to pay if you're staying in the UK for 6 months or more. If somebody is on a standard visitor visa, they have just hit the 6 month mark, so that means they will not have to pay. Okay, so if you're on a standard visitor visa, you will not have to actually pay the healthcare surcharge. What the government recommends is that you just pay for the healthcare that you need if you require it when you come into the UK on a standard visitor visa. There's a lot of private healthcare in the UK. It might be a little bit more expensive, but the government recommends that if you require healthcare and you're on a standard visitor visa, you should just pay for whatever you need privately. Okay. Now, when it comes to the fiancé visa, this is a visa that lasts also for a maximum of 6 months. And this visa is intended for fiancés of British nationals who actually desire to marry in the UK within the duration of 6 months. Okay. So what this means is that it means that, for example, you may have a fiancé in the UK and you desire to move from where you are to the UK to marry your fiance. Okay, and what this visa enables you to do is enables you who has come from outside, okay, and has entered into the UK to actually marry your fiance. Okay, and then from that another visa can be sought to actually for you to actually remain in the UK as well. All right, but with all of these visas, the standard visitor visa and the fiancé visa, these are only for a maximum of 6 months. Okay, so what that means, it means that you're not going to have to actually pay for the healthcare surcharge. All right, so another question you may have is, when do you apply for the healthcare surcharge, and when can you actually start using the UK healthcare system? All right, so I'm going to start off with when you apply. So you only apply for the healthcare surcharge, okay, like I've said earlier, when you are applying for a visa that will let you remain in the UK for 6 months or more. Okay, so you only apply for the healthcare surcharge, or you'll only be asked to actually apply and pay for the healthcare surcharge when you are actually applying for a visa that will enable you to stay in the UK for 6 months or more. If you are applying for a visa that is under 6 months, it means that you do not need to apply for the healthcare surcharge. Okay, so just bear this in mind. Now I'm going to address when you can actually start using the UK healthcare system. So you can start fully using the UK healthcare system when you have paid for the healthcare surcharge. Okay, when you have fully paid, or if you are also exempt from paying, because some people are exempt. Some people don't have to pay the healthcare surcharge. Okay, for example, people who are on the standard visitor visa, people who are on the fiancé visa, they don't have to pay the healthcare surcharge cost. There are also other people that don't have to pay the healthcare surcharge cost. I'm gonna reveal that onto you as we go throughout this video. All right, but you can start using the UK healthcare system when you have paid for that healthcare surcharge, or you're even exempt from it, and also when your visa, okay, has actually been approved and granted as well. All right, so another question you may have is, what healthcare will you actually be entitled to after paying the healthcare surcharge cost? What will you actually be entitled to? Because, you know, £624 a year, especially if you're coming maybe on a 2-year, on a 3-year visa, is quite a lot of money. So it's very, very important that you actually know what you will actually be entitled to when you do come to the UK on that visa. All right, so what you are entitled to is you're entitled to all like you basically what you'll be entitled to healthcare wise is you'll be entitled to a GP. All right, so the healthcare surcharge cost, okay, that you have paid will cover all GP and hospital visits, okay. However, it would not cover eye test cost, dental treatment cost, or prescription cost, okay. These costs of eye care, like your eye care or your eye test, your dental treatment, or your prescriptions, they will actually have to be covered by your own pocket, okay. And what that means is by your own finances, because these kind of services are viewed as services that can be offered outside of the NHS. They can be deemed as private services. All right. So for eye tests, dental treatment, prescriptions, these are not actually covered by the healthcare surcharge cost or the healthcare surcharge that you have paid for. The only thing that is covered for you is any GP and hospital visits. Okay. So just bear that in mind as well. Now, another question you may be thinking is, when do you not even have to pay for the healthcare surcharge? When do you, like, who is exempt? Who is exempt from paying this healthcare surcharge cost? Now, when I say that somebody that does not have to pay, what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to say that there are some people who are exempt from paying this cost, okay? And I'm going to reveal onto you the people that don't actually have to pay for the healthcare surcharge, because when they are applying for their visa, or even after their visa has been granted, in the whole application process of their visa, they're not going to be asked to pay for this healthcare surcharge cost, okay? And these are the people, there are 7 people that don't have to pay for the healthcare surcharge. And that is family members of the UK Armed Forces, family members of another country's armed forces. So if you have family members who joined the armed forces in another country, they may be exempt, or they are exempt from paying the healthcare surcharge cost. People who are victims of slavery and human trafficking, they don't have to pay the healthcare surcharge cost when they are applying for their visa. Asylum seekers and refugees are the same. They don't have to apply for the healthcare, or they don't have to pay for the healthcare surcharge cost when they're actually applying for their visa. Aside from that, individuals who are on the Home Office domestic violence list also don't have to pay for the healthcare surcharge cost. All right. And also, individuals who are applying to travel to the Isle of Man or Channel Islands when they come to the UK will also be exempt from paying the healthcare surcharge cost. And also, individuals who are actually applying for the EEA family permit. So that is a permit for people who are of the European Union, okay? They are also exempt from actually paying the healthcare surcharge cost. All right. So what actually happens after you apply for the healthcare surcharge cost? So I hope you remember what I've said, and I've said that you have to apply and pay for the healthcare surcharge cost when you are completing your visa application form. There will actually be a section for you when you are applying for your visa online. There will be a section for you to actually apply and pay for the healthcare surcharge cost, because basically what the form does is that it looks at the visa that you have applied for. If you're doing everything online, it looks at the visa that you have applied for, it looks at the duration of your stay, and then it will calculate how much healthcare surcharge you're going to have to pay. So it's all embedded in the application form of the visa. All right. So after when you're applying for your visa and you're able to pay for the healthcare surcharge cost, and you submit your visa application, right after that, obviously you'll receive an email confirming your application, but you'll also be emailed an IHS reference number as well. Okay, so once your visa has been approved, you will also receive an IHS, okay, an Immigration Health Surcharge reference number as well, all right, in your email. And this is very important, because when you do come to the UK and you do need to use their healthcare system, okay, and maybe you're not registered with any hospital, or your name is not with any GP, you can just show them this IHS reference number and they'll know that you have paid for the healthcare surcharge and therefore you are entitled to treatment under the NHS. All right. So this is a number that you have to keep safe, especially if you have to use the NHS, okay, or the GP. Always keep this reference number close by. All right. So that is all for today's video. Please let me know, okay, if you have any comments or questions in the comment section below, and I'll also leave some links in the description if you want to read more about what I have discussed in relation to the healthcare surcharge. But I believe that I've covered everything that you must know. But if you have any questions, please feel free to write it down in the comment section below. Aside from that, please do not forget to like this video, to share this video to loved ones, and to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, please press the bell, okay, under the video so that you will be notified of any new videos that I do release. Now, I hope to see you again in the next video, and I want you to know that I'm going to keep dropping more content, more information for you all to help you on your journey to the UK. All right, see you in the next video.